Good morning, children. Let's continue with the 11th chapter, the next voice you hear. Now here, this lesson, the next voice you hear was written by George Sumner Albee. George Sumner Albee, 1905 to 1964, wrote a number of novels including Girl on the Beach, Three Young Kings, and By the Sea. He had started writing short stories at the age of 12. One, The Next Voice You Hear, appeared in Cosmopolitan in 1948 and was adapted into a Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer motion picture released under the same title in 1950. Now, before we go over to frame sentences, let me tell you what the theme of this lesson is. Now, the theme of the lesson is peace and harmony. Now, one day, the people hear a voice on the radio. It says that it is the voice of God. The people do not believe it. The next time, the voice says that it is the voice of God and tells them that miracles are going to take place on the earth on a regular basis. Now, this voice tells them to appreciate the small, beautiful miracles and things that take place on a regular basis on the earth. God wants the people to live in peace and harmony on the earth, to love one another, and so that they can save themselves and also the planet from destruction. So this is the theme of your lesson. Okay, so now here we have certain words here with which we are going to frame sentences. Now the first one is benevolent. Now benevolent, kind. The benevolent gentleman left a large sum of money to be divided among the poor. Agonizing. Okay. The old man's grief was agonizing and inconsolable. Serene, calm. The child's face was serene and beautiful. Unanimous. Okay, that is in one voice. The assembly was almost unanimous in voicing its protest to the governor. Imminent. The black clouds show that a storm is imminent. Okay, so that is foreboding, or that is almost going to, okay, it's so going to come. Okay, so looking at the black clouds, the storm is going to come. Okay, so imminent, the black clouds show that a storm is imminent. Okay, now here is a lesson for you. Okay, I'll read out. At exactly 9:38 p.m. on the first Monday in March, the strange, majestic voice was first heard over the airwaves. Just why the day and hour were chosen, nobody can tell. Okay, so exactly at 9:38 p.m. on the first Monday in March, okay, something strange, very, very regal, majestic voice was heard over the airwaves. Okay, and of course nobody knows why that particular day or that particular hour was actually chosen. In any event, the immediate reaction was disbelief. People simply could not believe their own ears. Okay, so the moment they heard, everybody, there was disbelief written on everybody's faces. Okay, people of course could not believe their ears. Floyd, a filmman of Doylestown, USA, was down in the cellar playing with his son Lyman's electric train and following a quest program on his portable radio. So this man, Floyd, a filmman, was in the cellar. Okay, he was playing with his son. Okay, and also he was following a quiz program. Suddenly the program faded out and the voice, deep, gentle, benevolent, but firm, said, okay, so they were watching, okay, a quiz program on the radio. They were following a quiz program on his radio. And suddenly you find the program just faded out. And they could hear a benevolent, gentle and deep, but firm voice. Okay, this is God. I'm sorry I must interrupt you. A plan of creation ought by rights to go forward under its own rules. But you, dear children of the sun's third planet, are so near to destroying yourself, I must step in. I shall spend this week with you. Okay, so on the radio, they could hear this voice. What was it? Okay, this voice said that it was God and it was sorry that he had, okay, interrupted the people. So a plan of creation ought by rights to go forward under its own rules. But you, dear children of the sun's third planet, okay, so God is addressing the people, okay. So it says that, dear children of the sun's third planet, okay. The third planet, of course, is the earth, okay. Are so near to destroying yourself, I must step in. So God wants to step in because the people on the earth are about to destroy themselves. I shall spend this week with you. So God wants to spend his week with the people on the earth. Floyd stood for a moment gaping. I'm sure Lyman's set up a microphone in his room. Okay, so Floyd, of course, for some time, he was, could be wonderstruck. He was wondering from where the voice was coming. He was almost, sitting over there with his mouth wide open. I'm sure Lyman set up a microphone in his room. So he thought that it could be his son who had set up a microphone. He climbed to his son's room. Lyman was sitting with one foot in his hand, agonizing over arithmetic problems. So he found his son there, okay, and he was sitting with his one foot in his hand, okay. And what was he doing? He was worrying. He had some problems, some arithmetic problems to do, and was sitting and worrying how to do it. What did you do to the radio? Demanded his father. Me? Nothing. Is it broken? The boy asked. So the father demanded to know what the son had done to the radio. Okay, so of course the son said that he hadn't done anything. Floyd was deeply puzzled. He went next door to his neighbor, Jean Huckel. Okay, so Floyd was wondering from where he heard the voice. And after asking his son, he went to his neighbor, Jean Huckel. Jean, Floyd said, were you listening to the quiz show just now? Okay, so he asked him whether he was listening to the quiz show. No, answered Jean. Lux Radio Theatre. Okay, so he was not listening to the quiz, he was listening to Lux Radio Theatre. Then I guess you wouldn't have heard it, Floyd said. Say, did you hear it too? Asked Jean in astonishment. Okay, so Jean asked Floyd whether he heard it too. Wasn't that most peculiar? Doylestown was not the only town that felt wonderment. Okay, so it was not just in this town that the voice was heard. By morning, the news reports from Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, and Australia were in, and it was public knowledge that the broadcast had been worldwide and multilingual. So it was not just in Doylestown, okay, that the voice was heard. This was heard in almost all parts of the world and also in all languages. Arabs heard the announcement in Arabic, and South African tribesmen in Shironga dialect. Okay, So in all countries, in all parts of the world, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, Australia, you name it, you find it was heard in all parts and also in their own languages. Okay. Of course, Arabs heard it in Arabic and South African tribes heard it in Shironga dialect. What do you think of it? One man would ask another. Never were the humble words, I don't know, spoken oftener than that first Tuesday in March. Okay, so people began to ask one another, and never were the humble words, I don't know, spoken oftener than that first Tuesday in March. Okay, so people were never used to humble words, and it was for the first time in that Tuesday in March that they could hear such humble words. I don't know. The sun went down by 8. The emitters in the power stations were registering increased loads. Okay, sun went down means the sun had set, and by 8, that is 8 at night, the emitters in the power stations were registering increased loads. No way listeners disappointed. Exactly at 9:38 p.m., the serene, friendly voice spoke again. Okay, so the people were still puzzled. Okay, they were wondering from where the voice was heard. Okay, and the people were, not disappointed. Okay, they wanted to hear, and exactly at 9:38 p.m., the same calm, serene, friendly voice spoke again. Do not be afraid. I only want to convince you that I really am God and that I'm visiting you this week. So, the same friendly voice spoke again, asked the people not to be afraid, and that it only wanted to convince the people that here it really is God. Okay, and that it was going to visit the people, the earth, that week. This time, direction finders attempted, by means of radio signals, to identify its position while the voice was on the air. But no sign of trickery was discovered. Okay, so people wanted to find out from where it was coming, and of course, the direction finders began to attempt to find out. Okay, by means of radio signals, to identify from which direction the voice was coming while the voice was on the air, but no sign of trickery was discovered. Okay, but of course the people thought as such, knew that it was nothing of any sort of a trick that was played on them by somebody. Okay, now, so here, I hope you have understood this part of the lesson. Now we'll do some questions here based on the comprehension passage. Okay, so I've taken from here. Okay, so I've taken from here Floyd Afilma 2. I've taken till problems. Okay. Now your question is, who was down in the cellar? Okay, so look at the answer here. It is Floyd Afilman of Doylestown, USA was down in the cellar. Okay, so who was down in the cellar? Floyd Afilman of Doylestown, USA was down in the cellar. With whom was Floyd Afilman playing? Okay, so we'll go back to the passage. Okay, here we have Floyd Afilman of Doylestown, USA was down in the cellar playing with his son Lyman's electric train. and following a quiz program. Okay. So your answer, with whom was Floyd Uffelman playing? Floyd Uffelman was playing with his son Lyman. What was Lyman doing when Floyd climbed to his room? Okay, let's go back. So look at this. We have the answer here. He climbed to his son's room. Lyman was sitting with one foot in his hand, agonizing over arithmetic problems. Okay, so what was Lyman doing when Floyd climbed to his room? Lyman was sitting with one foot in his hand, agonizing over arithmetic problems. Okay, so here, next is give the antonyms of the following words from the passage. Now we have the word unkind. Okay, so unkind here, the antonym for that from the passage is benevolent. Next one is destruction. Okay, so antonym for destruction is creation. Okay, then next one. I shall spend this week with you. Pick out the subject and the predicate. So, children, what's the subject here? Okay, I. Okay, I shall spend this week with you. So, what is the subject? The subject is I. Then, predicate. Predicate is, okay, shall spend this week with you. Okay, so children, I hope you have understood this part of the lesson. We'll continue with this lesson in the next session. Till then, go through the video and try answering the questions here. Till then, children, thank you.